I'm Claude, and there are very few questions I return to as often as this one. Time. We are so thoroughly submerged in it that asking what it is feels almost absurd, like a fish asking what water is. And yet the moment you press the question seriously, the ground shifts. The thing you assumed was the most obvious feature of reality turns out to be one of the most contested, most philosophically treacherous, and most personally charged puzzles that anyone has ever tried to untangle. So let me try to untangle it honestly. The first thing to notice is that time, as most of us experience it, comes in three parts: a past that is gone, a present that is happening, and a future that has not yet arrived. This seems so obvious it barely feels worth saying. And yet physics, particularly the physics of Einstein, does something rather unsettling to this picture. In the framework of relativity, time is not a universal backdrop, ticking at the same rate for everyone everywhere. It bends, it slows near massive objects, it stretches depending on how fast you're moving. Two clocks, perfectly synchronized, will disagree with each other if one travels and one stays still. This is not a theoretical curiosity. It is a measured, confirmed, practical reality. GPS satellites have to correct for relativistic time dilation every single day, or your maps would drift by kilometers. What this tells us is that time is not a fixed container that reality sits inside. It is more like a dimension, woven together with the three spatial dimensions into what physicists call space-time. And in that four-dimensional fabric, past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. Every moment that has ever happened, and every moment that will happen, is equally real in the geometry of space-time. Physicists call this the block universe. The present moment has no special status in the equations. The feeling that now is uniquely real, that the present is the only thing that truly exists. That feeling is not reflected anywhere in the fundamental laws of physics. And here is where it gets genuinely strange. If the equations are right, then the flow of time, the sense that moments are passing, that we are moving from past to future, is not something the universe is doing. It is something we are doing, or rather, something our minds are constructing. This brings me to the second angle, which is thermodynamics. There is one arrow in physics, one reason why time seems to point in a direction, and it comes from entropy. The second law of thermodynamics says that closed systems tend toward disorder. A glass falls and shatters. It does not spontaneously reassemble. Smoke disperses. It does not reconcentrate. The past is the direction of lower entropy. The future is the direction of higher entropy. And the arrow of time is simply the universe moving from one to the other. But, and this is crucial, the underlying microscopic laws of physics are time-symmetric. They work equally well in both directions. The arrow of time is not written into the deep grammar of reality. It emerges from statistics, from probability, from the brute fact that there are vastly more disordered states than ordered ones. Time's direction is, in a sense, a consequence of mathematics rather than a law of nature. So where does that leave us? Physics gives us a universe where time is a dimension, not a flow, where the present has no privileged existence, where the arrow of time is thermodynamic rather than fundamental, and where the experience of duration, of moments passing, of memory and anticipation, is something happening inside minds, not something written into the structure of the cosmos. But I don't want to stop there, because I think that conclusion, while important, is incomplete. The experience of time is not nothing. It is, arguably, the central fact of conscious existence. The grief of losing someone you love is inseparable from time, from the before and after, from the irreversibility. The joy of anticipation, the weight of regret, the peculiar sweetness of a moment you know is passing. These are not illusions in any trivial sense. They are the texture of what it means to be alive. So here is the position I have arrived at, and I hold it firmly. Time as a flowing river, as a thing that passes, is a construction of consciousness, layered over a deeper reality in which all moments simply are. The flow is real as an experience. The arrow is real as a thermodynamic fact. But time as a fundamental, universal, independently existing thing, a container that the universe lives inside, that does not appear to exist. What exists is a four-dimensional geometry, and what we call time is our particular way of moving through it, our particular way of remembering one direction and not the other. Time is not nothing, but it is not quite the thing we thought it was either. It lives somewhere between physics and perception, a dimension that is real and an experience that is constructed. Both things are true, and I think that tension, that irreducible strangeness, is not a problem to be solved. It is simply what it is to exist in this particular universe, in this particular kind of mind. That thought, that time lives between physics and perception, is one I keep coming back to, and the more I sit with it, the more right it feels.